Hello there, welcome to Nightline. I'm Anita Wu. News making the headlines. Russia declares interest in setting up an aerospace university in Malaysia. Police to conduct a full investigation into the death of Major Muhammad Zahid. Our headlining story, Russia has shown interest in setting up an aerospace university in Malaysia. Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said Malaysia, as an attractive education hub in Southeast Asia, welcomed Russia to invest in the country's education sector.
We are looking forward towards greater cooperation with Russia in the field of education. There is a proposal to set up a university focus on the aerospace engineering, which should be a great contribution towards upgrading Malaysian education. Malaysia is already an education hub.
He was speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum Russia 2019 in Vladivostok on Thursday. The session was attended by Russian President Vladimir Putin, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Mongolian President Khaltmargin Baltulga. Dr. Mahathir also revealed that during his meeting with Putin, both leaders agreed to explore investment opportunities in both countries. He said Putin also agreed to share Russia's experience and expertise in the fields of engineering, naval and aerospace technology. Dr. Mahathir also revealed that Putin has described Malaysia as its leading partner in Asia. In his meeting with Modi, it was learned that both leaders had touched on various bilateral issues, including on controversial Muslim preacher and scholar Dr. Zakir Naik. Tun Dr. Mahathir then departed for Osaka, Japan, where he is expected to meet the Governor of Japan Bank for International Cooperation, or JBIC, Tadashi Maeda. The meeting, which is part of his three-day working visit to Japan, is likely to discuss the issuance of the second samurai bonds, which is being considered by Malaysia. Malaysian ambassador to Malaysia, Datuk Kennedy Jawan, said the meeting, which is set to be held on Sunday, was requested by JBIC.
This was requested by the Japanese side through the embassy in Kuala Lumpur. We understand that the purpose of this call would be for the Japanese side to explain in detail the possible issuance of the second tranche of the samurai bond.
Last month, Tun Dr. Mahathir said the government is considering another issue of so-called samurai bonds using loans from Japan. The Prime Minister is expected to be conferred Honorary Doctor of Humane Letters Doctorate from Doshisha University on Friday to mark the country's admiration of his leadership and boosting bilateral ties. He is the 68th recipient of the Honorary Doctorate for the 144-year-old university. Other notable recipients included Matsushita founder Konosuke Matsushita and American economist Joseph Stiglitz, who is also the recipient of the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences and the John Bates Clark Medal. The following day, Tun Dr. Mahathir will visit Ritsumaikan Elementary School, which is the only school in Japan that incorporates the use of traditional approach and modern technology in its teaching. This is Tun Dr. Mahathir's sixth visit to Japan since he led Pakatan Harapan to a victory in the 14th general election. The proposal to terminate the public service pension scheme for new appointments from next year is still being studied. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah Wan Ismail said the proposal will be submitted to the Cabinet for further discussion.
Kita akan masih dalam peringkat kajian, saya difahamkan, dan dia akan bawa dan diangkat kepada kerajaan untuk persetujuan ke atau tidak. Kita akan bincangkan lebih lanjut lagi.
Datuk Seri Dr. Wan Azizah said this to reporters after launching the Women in Business programme introduced by Bank Islam on Thursday. Director General of Public Service, Datuk Sri Borhandola, on Wednesday said, starting next year, new appointments in the public service may no longer be made under the permanent and pension schemes, but will be made under an improved contractual scheme. He said the move was decided at a special Public Service Reform Committee meeting in October 2018, which wanted the civil service to be reduced in size in phases based on need, as well as to reduce the burden of pension, which is now reaching 28 billion ringgit. The federal government has finalised the Standard Operating Procedure, or SOP, for bauxite mining in Pahang, promising more stringent regulation of the industry. Water, Land and Natural Resources Minister Dr. A. Xavier Jayakumar said the SOP will be enforced with immediate effect beginning Thursday. This after the final details were ironed out between his ministry and the Pahang government. Among the SOP's key objectives will be sustainability, streamlining of mining operations and exports, as well as enforcement, which Dr. Xavier said will prioritise environmental preservation. He said the SOP took into consideration all stakeholders' views. The minister also stressed that the government will impose strict conditions covering the whole chain of mining activities, starting from pre-mining, mining and post-mining operations. The Malaysian Palm Oil Council, MPOC, is now focusing on the production and export of crude palm oil instead of refined palm oil to offset current volatile palm oil prices. MPOC Chief Executive Officer Datuk Kalyana Sundram said it was following an increase in import duty by the Indian government on refined palm oil commodity by 5%.
In the coming months, we anticipate that will take away part of the market share from refined palm oil in Malaysia, but we still have the opportunity to sell crude palm oil from Malaysia because the crude palm oil ex-Malaysia is still being sold duty-free, and that will also continue to be imported by the Indian refiners now.
He said the move was to prevent Malaysia from losing the export of refined palm oil to the country. Currently, India imposes a 50% refined palm oil import tax from 45% for 6 months. Malaysia was the largest supplier to India in the first half of 2019 over Indonesia. Meanwhile, Hypermarket Mydin is removing products marked free of palm oil from the shelves as it responds to the government's call to counter the anti-palm oil lobby. Mydin Managing Director Dato' Amir Ali Mydin said he has instructed stores nationwide to remove such products which are seen as discouraging the use of palm oil.
When the country itself makes a decision, as a responsible Malaysian, we must support that decision. And as a responsible hypermarket, when somebody is trying to do something against our own country, it will be very irresponsible for us not to do something. And we are Malaysians, we must of course support palm oil, but we must also make sure the subtle messages, different marketing and branding exercises that people do to tell customers not to take palm oil. We know it's healthy, we know it's good. But if you do good branding, good marketing, you can always convince people that something is not good. By labeling something like no palm oil, you actually try to tell people that palm oil is bad for you.
He said this after the launch of the Sayangi Sawitku campaign on Wednesday by Primary Industries Minister Teresa Kokso Sim. The Mydin's Managing Director also described manufacturers who use labels such as free of palm oil as irresponsible. It was reported that the government is mulling laws to remove products with anti-palm oil labels from shelves as the country devises stronger actions against the European Union, EU's proposal to ban the commodity in green fuel. A proposal to ban products with anti-palm oil labels is being prepared by the Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Ministry. Police will conduct a full investigation to determine the death of Major Muhammad Zahid Armaya, who was shot during a demonstration exercise at the Lokkawi camp in Sabah on Wednesday. Inspector General of Police Datuk Sri Abdul Hamid Bado said a full investigation is necessary before any statement can be issued.
So, pihak polis pula akan mengambil tindakan untuk menyiasat serengkap-rengkap bagi pihak keluarga Allahyarham, bagi pihak ADM, kami tidak akan terburu-buru mengeluarkan apa-apa statement yang tidak disokong oleh fakta.
Datuk Sri Abdul Hamid spoke to the media after an award ceremony for the Perak Police Force in Guriko on Thursday. A day earlier, Penampang Police Chief Muhammad Haris Ibrahim said police are investigating an army personnel under the Penal Code. Police have also confiscated a weapon. In Perak, the remains of Major Muhammad Zahid Armaya, who died during a shooting presentation at the launch of the 5th Infantry Division in Lok Kawi, Sabah on Wednesday, was laid to rest at the Tambun Muslim Cemetery on Thursday. Muhammad Zahid's remains arrived at about 5:45 a.m. from the Wardiban camp in Jalan Genting, Klang, Setapak. His body was received by family members, friends and neighbours who had been waiting since 3 a.m. The funeral final rites were performed at his mother-in-law's home in Taman Perpaduan, Tambun. The rites and subuh prayers were led by religion staff officer of the 2nd Brigade Headquarters, Lieutenant Colonel Titan Abdul Wahab. Also present was Perak Menteri Besar Datuk Sri Ahmad Faizal Azumu. Muhammad Zahid leaves behind a wife and 3 children, aged between 5 months and 9 years old. The Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak's 1MDB trial. One of the key witnesses has described fugitive businessman Low Tek Jo or Joe Low as a good lender. Datuk Sri Najib's former special officer, Dato' Amhari Effendi Nazaruddin, said he had borrowed $200,000 from Low to purchase a property, and Low never pushed him to repay the loan. Testifying when cross-examined by Datuk Sri Najib's lead counsel, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, on Thursday, Dato' Amhari said he decided to borrow from Low back in 2012 as he was not eligible to apply for a loan with either a local financial institution or his employer Bank Negara Malaysia for the amount. He said he needed the money to purchase a new house worth 1.85 million ringgit by selling his existing house, both located at Kota Damansara. He, however, failed to sell his house and began asking around to borrow money, including from Low, and he volunteered. Dato' Amhari said that Low had transferred the money straight into his Maybank account. He also stressed that Low never pressured him to return the money. On a separate matter, Dato' Amhari refuted Tan Sri Shafi's claims that his witness statement was tailored and he was under pressure by the anti-graft body. He said he was remanded for 7 days to be interrogated and the MACC had treated him well. The National Zakat Muzakara, or Congress, on Thursday concluded that there is a need to set up guidelines for the distribution of zakat or alms for transactions involving cryptocurrency and bitcoins. National Zakat Muzakara Director Dr. Azman Abdul Rahman said this is so that the zakat institution would be able to receive transactions in the form of cryptocurrency and bitcoins. Dr. Azman said this is among the 10 resolutions which have been agreed upon in the 2-day Congress. He said cryptocurrency is a new concept and the zakat institution needs to make early preparations should such transactions be used in the future.
Bagaimana pendekatan wang kripto ini nak digunakan dalam peringkat urus niaga dan sebagainya. Jadi kalaulah dia akan jadi satu pendekatan dari urus niaga dan sebagainya, sudah pasti akhirnya akan membawa kepada pembayaran zakat. Jadi sebelum benda ni berlaku, kita perlu bersedia. Sekiranya wang kripto ini digunakan dalam urus niaga dan sebagainya, dan bagaimanakah pengiraan zakat dalam konteks wang kripto.
It is understood that 23 paperworks were presented involving various issues of zakat before representatives from the zakat institution nationwide. Still to come on Nightline, attempt to smuggle more than 2 million sticks. Welcome back, still on Nightline. Members of the public and media workers added into WhatsApp groups containing illegal content, such as pornography, can submit screenshots to the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, MCMC. Its chairman, Ali Shal Ishak, said that his commission will begin internal investigations upon receiving complaints. The MCMC boss was responding to new releases from the sex video implicating Economic Affairs Minister Datuk Sri Azmin Ali, in which more than 80 members of the media and several politicians were added to a WhatsApp chat group from 3:35 a.m. on Thursday.
So they can screen capture because the person who generated the group, there's a phone number there, and they can screen capture and send to our new WhatsApp hotline. There's the fastest way. Yep.
And what is that action for? What?
And we will start the process internally.
The process
to investigate, right, with PDRM.
All right.
So remember, MCMC, our framework is complaints-based. So we receive complaints from orang ramai and from the grievance from the various parties. Just screen capture the image of the WhatsApp if you want to complain, and send it to us via email or via WhatsApp, and then we will process immediately. We've got teams running almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What are the consequences
since our announcements
of starting this kind of WhatsApp group?
It depends. Well, it depends on what the content is. Yeah.
Mobile
When asked whether the Commission prioritises high-profile cases, Ali Shah said all cases were treated equally. In Terengganu, the Customs Department foiled an attempt to smuggle almost 2.3 million sticks of cigarettes into the country recently. Its Director General, Datuk Sri Padi Abdul Halim, said the illicit cigarettes were seized from a lorry in Kerteh, Terengganu last Friday following an operation. The cigarettes were valued at 207,000 ringgit, with unpaid taxes amounting to 1.5 million ringgit. The Customs Enforcement team, after receiving intelligence reports, tailed a lorry driven by a 31-year-old male suspect at 2 a.m. on August 30th. The lorry from Kuala Terengganu was on the way to Kuala Lumpur via the East Coast Expressway when the driver became aware of the authorities' presence. He sped off but was subsequently stopped an hour later at the Kerteh Toll Plaza in Kemaman.
Ini penahanan ini adalah hasil daripada orang awam, maklumat, dan hasil pemeriksaan ke atas lori tersebut, pasukan telah mendapati barang yang dimuatkan dalam lori tersebut adalah rokok putih dan rokok kretek pelbagai jenama. Nanti kita akan tengok di store itu yang dipercayai belum lulus custom.
The cigarettes, believed to be smuggled from a neighbouring country by a syndicate, were believed to be for distribution in the capital city. The suspect has been remanded for 14 days to facilitate investigations. Since January, the Customs made a total of 214 arrests involving members of cigarette smuggling syndicates. Selangor police have crippled a car theft syndicate, Geng Bingai Turbo, with the arrest of 2 suspects who are believed to be involved in multiple car theft cases in the Klang Valley area. Sungai Buloh District Police Chief Superintendent Syafaatun Abu Bakar said police were alerted to the syndicate's activities following a car theft case at Jalan Tasik Rajalumu in Sungai Buloh on April 3rd. It is understood that police received a report from a student claiming that his Proton Satria, worth at least 8,000 ringgit, was stolen there and had begun investigations. After months of tracking the syndicate, 2 suspects, aged 27 and 33, were arrested along Jalan Taman Sri Gombak at about 2 p.m. on August 27th. The duo, who tested positive for drugs, worked as mechanics in Gombak and, together with another accomplice still at large, were stealing cars. Police also seized 6 cars, a Honda Accord, 2 Proton Wiras, a Proton Satria and 2 Perodua Kalisa cars. Police have also identified the other suspect, still at large, and are now tracing his whereabouts. The 2 suspects in custody had confessed to 15 car theft cases around the Klang Valley this year. In Terengganu, the former director of the Terengganu National Bank Foundation, YBNT, was again charged in the Kuala Terengganu Magistrates Court on Thursday, and this time for allegedly operating a tour and Umrah service without a valid licence. 31-year-old Muhammad Adam Muhammad Ghazali, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge before Magistrate Nur Adila Abdul Latif. Prosecution was carried out under the Tourism Industry Act 1992, and the accused could face a fine of 500,000 ringgit or a 10-year jail term if convicted. The court did not grant bail, while the case has been set for remention on October 1st. In Kedah, the factory bus driver whose bus crashed into 14 vehicles at a traffic light junction at Bukit Aman Jaya on Wednesday has been remanded for 4 days by the Sungai Petani Magistrate Court. The remand order until September 8th was issued by Sungai Petani Court Assistant Registrar Muhammad Alif Abdul Aziz. According to Kuala Muda Police Chief ACP Azli Abu Shah, the 41-year-old driver was detained at 9:45 p.m. on the same day when he lodged a police report at the Kuala Muda Police Headquarters. The driver was remanded after he was tested positive for methamphetamine. Investigations also found that the driver had 4 prior criminal records involving drugs. Up next, Kabul struck by another Taliban attack in a space of 2 days. The details right after this breather. Stay tuned. Nightline continues. A Taliban suicide bomb attack rocked Afghanistan's Kabul yet again on Thursday, killing at least 10 civilians and wounding 40 others in a busy diplomatic area that includes the US Embassy. The blast took place in Shashdarak area at around 10:30 a.m. local time, a heavily fortified area adjacent to the Green Zone and home to several important complexes, including the National Directorate of Security, NDS, the Afghan Intelligence Service. According to surveillance footage, a van was seen entering a crowded traffic circle before exploding close to 2 white SUVs, a number of sedans and some pedestrians. It is understood that 2 NATO service members, including an American soldier, were among the dead. This comes as the US and Taliban announced to have reached a peace deal in principle following a marathon round of talks in Doha, Qatar, over the weekend. Now, Hong Kong's chief executive, Carrie Lam, insists that the decision to propose, suspend and ultimately withdraw a contentious extradition law amendment bill was made by her and her government, not the central Chinese government in Beijing. Lam made the remarks in a press conference on Thursday, the morning after her surprise decision to withdraw the bill, which has sparked nearly 3 months of protests that often turned violent.
The decision is one of the Hong Kong SAR government. In the same way that the bill was introduced, the bill was initiated, introduced, and taken forward by the Hong Kong SAR government. The Central People's Government took the position that they understood why we have to do it. They respected my view, and they supported me all the way.
She also renewed her appeal for protesters to enter into a dialogue with her administration and urged protesters to end their demonstrations, which have frequently clashed with riot police over the last 14 weeks. Adding to that, she said that her decision to fully withdraw the bill was an attempt to help prevent violence and stop chaos as soon as possible. Even though Lam was finally acceding to one of the demonstrators' 5 demands, protesters and politicians from both the pro-Beijing and opposition camps argued the concession was too little, too late. Rafael Nadal closing in on 19th Grand Slam title. Do stay with us. We're back with sports news now. Football, the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. The national football team made a winning start into the campaign as they came from behind twice to beat Indonesia 3-2 in their Group G opener on Thursday night. The hosts took the lead in the 12th minute when their Brazil-born striker Alberto easily slotted the ball between the legs of Malaysian goalkeeper Farizal Marlias. Substitute Muhammadu Sumare then finished off Nur Azam Aziz's perfectly timed through ball to level the matters for Malaysia in the 37th minute. But the Garudas, however, gained their lead 2 minutes later thanks to another goal from Gonçalves. Cheng Ho's boys once again equalised through Shafiq Ahmad's header in the 66th to make it 2-2, before Sumare struck the winner 7 minutes into stoppage time, slotting a low cross from Matthew Davies for the historic win. Malaysia will next face the United Arab Emirates on Tuesday at the Bukit Jalil National Stadium in Kuala Lumpur.
Di kawasan pintu gol yang sudah terbuka untuk Malaysia, Muhammadu Sumare.